Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time, worldwide on the iHeartRadio network, a platform of over 250 million people in the United States. The number one platform out there is actually iHeartRadio, so we thank you for allowing us to be on your program with the $1 Million Show, and today is August the 11th, 2016, and I want to thank all of our Latin American listeners, so bienvenidos to you in Latin America. I told you, Big C, I'm learning that Spanish. I think hola is uno, so I've learned at least 3 words in Spanish, Big C, so you're going to be in trouble by the end of the month. And also I want to say thank you to...
By the time you're done, Charlton, we might be able to go through Taco Bell and order something.
Yeah, maybe order at least 4 or 5 things. So you good old boys out in London, England, thank you very much for tuning in. Also, Berlin, Germany, as well as the great country of Canada, love their national anthem. And again, thank you, good old boys out in Australia. Actually met someone from Africa today, and also they're very big into soccer on the continent of Africa, so thank you for following Charlton and Big C Sports. Big C, we know you're in the good old boys South, and I know you guys play football year-round, but how are things going for you guys, Big C?
Hey, Charlton, everything is wonderful down here in the South. We can't wait to the kickoff of the football season. The SEC is licking its chops with all those weaker conferences, and you know that they're going to have to play opening up the season, and so they're looking at some huge games. I mean, you look at the University of Tennessee, they're going to be playing in Bristol Motor Speedway.
Yeah.
150,000 people, they're expecting it. That's how big and powerful football is in the southeastern part of the United States, Charlton, that it is a fanfare and an event. So, who's Alabama playing first game?
I think they're going to get beat by the Trojans. You know, they were running that tape about who was that great coach down in Alabama. Is it Nick Saban or is it Paul Bear Bryant?
Either one that win championships.
Because both of them are foolish enough to schedule USC to Detroit, and I think they're expecting the same kind of beat down that Paul Bear Bryant got, and help them go out and recruit more African Americans. So Clay Helpin, yeah.
If you think about the fall of Troy, Charlton, it came from a big horse.
No, it's
bringing in a big elephant. So expect for Troy to fall and not with grace.
Well, the last I heard that horses were actually faster than the elephants. But what a great game, USC in Alabama. There's going to be so much money made in that game for the coaches and the administration's Big C, but no money for the players. But they'll learn someday, Big C. So your thoughts on football we know is happening all over the country. It's only preseason, but it has that feel of regular season. The LA Rams, they're expecting a sellout of over 90,000 fans at the LA Coliseum for a preseason game, Big C. Just a preseason game. Your thoughts on some of the games you're looking forward to, Big C?
Well, you think about it, it's a preseason game, a game that's meaningless. And, that's one of the things about the NFL is that there's so many of these games that veterans don't want to be involved in. New England Patriots are a very interesting game, Charlton, with Jimmy Garoppolo taking the helms from Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Now, everybody has penciled Garoppolo in at starting quarterback, for the entire time that Brady goes out.
Yeah.
But they have this young man, Jacoby Brissett, out of North Carolina State, who has a great skill set.
Yeah.
And don't be surprised to see him being the starter by the first or second game of the season, Charlton. He's athletic. He's 6'4", 6'5", mobile.
Yeah.
And has a cannon of an arm. So don't underestimate him and what he can do in college. I watched him outdo Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
He took over North Carolina State after Russell Wilson. So this man has some talent, Charlton. You look at the Philadelphia Eagles still trying to, shore up their quarterback scenario.
Yeah.
They brought back Bradford. But, the guys behind him, Chase Daniels is a guy, if you give him time. Brought him over from Kansas City under the tutelage of Drew Brees down in New Orleans for 5 years.
Yeah.
If you ever give him some time, he can prove himself in the NFL. This kid they drafted in the second pick overall, Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
He's a $22 million clipboard holder.
Well, hey, those clipboards are pretty heavy, though, Big C, so give the young man some credit. I think we'll find out a lot about players tonight, and obviously, this is where the first string, if they play at all, will play maybe 2 series, and then they'll get all the other guys that are trying to make the team, Big C. But I want to get your thoughts on this, too. I just think that with so much happening around the world of sports, this is physical contact. This is real contact. We know a lot of teams have already been scrimmaging each other, and this is going into real-time football now. So when you think about the excitement of football, this is what preseason in baseball right now, which is still a great game, but there are more people right now excited about the NFL preseason than baseball, and they're kind of in the heart of the season. Big C, your thoughts on that?
Well, baseball still has another 2 months to go right now. Baseball is mired in a lot of controversy about players on teams, Charlton.
Yeah.
But when you look at football, the height and excitement that you live the year round for here in America, waiting on that game, whether it's college football, high school football, or professional football.
Yeah.
And with the preseason kicking off, Charlton, this is real football for a change. You know, everybody can now relax. You got a full weekend slate of games. I'll tell you another interesting game is going to be the Denver Broncos and the Chicago Bears, Charlton. When you think about it, Jay Cutler started his career with the Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
Mark Sanchez has been much maligned, both former number 1 round draft picks. Now, if Mark Sanchez outduels Jay Cutler, should he be the starter shoe-in Denver? That's the big question.
Well, he should be the shoe-in anyway, Big C, because the prognosticator spends so much time looking at players in college who can lead them to the playoffs and hopefully a championship. Well, not only was Sanchez successful at USC, and Alabama's going to see the lineage of USC quarterbacks when they line up this season, but also he's been to the playoffs with the Jets twice. So I think he's not going to be afraid. He's not going to be nervous. He's not going to be rattled. And speaking of not being afraid, nervous, or rattled, this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go down and test drive it, let them know that Charlton and Big C sent you. And Big C, just thinking about the story you told about your Cadillac Escalade, how you good old boys take those Cadillac Escalades and you go hunting for wildlife, Big C. And a lot of people were asking, is it true that Big C had raccoon blood in his lease return to Cadillac? Is that true? Is it folklore?
I cannot confirm nor can I deny that that green substance, you know, it could have been grenadine or something.
Or Kool-Aid, right?
I can't say that, you know, I inflicted harm on an animal. So.
Yeah, well,
you know, periodically things jump in the back of my car and they seem to be safe back there, you know.
Well, let me ask you, Big C, now out in California, everything goes. It's not just a football-only state. Have you ever seen the Kardashians? I just want to ask you, Big C.
Well, I've heard a little bit about it. I may have seen it on a commercial or something, but, you know, that doesn't interest me, watching a lot of women in a scripted television show.
Okay, well, this lady named Kim Kardashian, she's considered one of the most beautiful women in the world. And then her mom obviously dated Bruce Jenner, and they have Kourtney Kardashian. She dated Lamar Odom, and then they have a younger sister as well. But the story is, we talk about the Escalade and how you guys have wildlife actually in your Escalade. I hear that when you get into the Escalade, you got to take your shoes off, because does that make any sense? California women are a little bit different.
Well, Charlton, I got these steps that come out when I open the door.
Yeah.
You know, to allow an old man like me to get up in the truck.
Yeah.
You know, because I put some oversized mud tires on mine. I didn't want to be getting stuck out there on some back road. So mine is not pretty. It's tall, but it's not pretty.
Well, I understand. And thinking of tall and pretty, you know, the Washington Redskins, they're playing. You like that? You like that? He's playing against Matt Ryan. And I know it's just a preseason game, but the good old boys down in Atlanta, they have this brand new state-of-the-art stadium. I think it opens next season. But what are your thoughts? And I know it's preseason, but do you think Atlanta is it poised at least to get into the playoffs again? And we know Washington got there last year. But what are your thoughts on that game coming up, Big C, tonight?
Well, Charlton, Atlanta started out last season gangbusters. I think they had won 4 of their first 5 games, and all of a sudden went into the tank.
Yeah.
And everybody wanted to say that it was the defense.
Yeah.
But when you stop scoring, the defense in the NFL, everybody's a professional.
Yeah.
Matt Ryan has never taken any backlash in his days in Atlanta.
Yeah.
One of the things the organization needs to take a look at is Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
Has he maxed out in his career? Has he gone as far as he can go? You know, he has not won a playoff game since he's been in Atlanta. You know, he's one of the top 3 highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL.
Well, wait, hold on, Big C. Let me ask you this question. Did you say he has not won a playoff game since he's been in Atlanta?
Well, I don't know if that's what they hired him for. They hired him to be the face of the franchise. You know, you got to look at what a contract says.
Yeah.
Matt Ryan was the face of the franchise.
Not
here to win playoff games.
Okay, well, let me ask you this question. Does anyone know what Arthur Blank is drinking? We know that's moonshine country down there, but how do you get $100 million contract and you don't even win playoff games, Big C? I think they did beat one time. They beat Seattle in an overtime game a few years back, and then the 49ers came and knocked them off, and Kaepernick took the 49ers to the Super Bowl. So he has one playoff victory, and that one playoff victory you're saying is worth over $100 million, Big C?
124 million, Charlton, to be exact.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was short 24 million.
I correct my mistake. They did beat Seattle a few years ago when the 49ers and the Ravens went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But, when you look at the productivity of a quarterback, I've always been an advocate, even when I played, is that a player should be paid on performance, not potential. Because, you look at the Joey Bosa situation out in San Diego where he's still holding out. Where did he perform? And if you go back, Charlton, 3 or 4 years ago, Jadeveon Clowney, I think about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
His college career was made off of one hit
against Michigan.
In a bowl game against Michigan.
Yeah.
And you think about his NFL career in 3 years, Charlton.
Yeah.
3 years. He has 4.5 sacks. 4.5 sacks in 3 years, Charlton. My best game as a pro, I had that in one game.
Yeah.
But, he's had that in 3 years as an NFL player. So when you talk about return on investment, you can't always sit there and say, this guy looks good.
Yeah.
He looks good in a Speedo, and he should be in a swimming pool.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Speedos, I think maybe he can order a Speedo from the Charlton and Big C Sports line. Not only are we coming out with Speedos, but coming out with brassieres as well as hats and T-shirts, Big C. I don't think we're getting into the shoes, so Michael Jordan can have that. Speaking of Michael Jordan, we also waiting for that phone call back from Phil Knight with Nike Corporation looking for that $1 million sponsorship. It's either going to be Nike or Under Armour or Adidas. So we're looking forward to that, Phil, and like your advertising says, just do it. I also want to say that this segment is sponsored by your California Lottery. What could a buck do for you? Big C, I went to the lottery office, actually the lottery ticket counter today, and I cashed in my winning ticket. Big C, it was $5, man. I swore that the lady was trying to cheat me because I know the pot was about $50 million, but they told me that it's going to be about $50 million on a Saturday, so I calmed down after they sent out that big bodyguard. That guy was serious. But I do want to say what a buck could do for you. Thank you for sponsoring Charlton and Big C Sports. Now, also, Big C, back to the NFL. I know one of your favorite quarterbacks down in Tampa Bay, Jameis Winston, they're playing at Philadelphia. That's a 4 o'clock start, so they've already kicked off. Your thoughts about how Jameis is going to look this year, Big C?
Well, Jameis made great strides as a rookie, Charlton. He also came into camp this year about 18 pounds lighter than what he did as a rookie, so that's going to help him out mobility-wise.
Yeah.
In the second year of playing in the system that he's in with the receiving core he has, the offensive line now understands his timing and his release. Tampa Bay will be greatly improved. Lovie Smith did great things for that team. Unfortunately, he was let go by management. I guess they didn't see him taking the team in the right direction, even though he had doubled the wins from the year before. So, how much can you do as an African-American head coach in the NFL other than be successful and get fired?
Well, they say Black Lives Matter, but not if you're an NFL head coach, Big C. So obviously, he has to win like 10 games to be considered for the same type of longevity that most of the Caucasian coaches can do with 6 games. And I think about the standard of how we talk about sports and athletics, and it's always so important to me that we're not just sycophants reading the scores to different people. And what I do like about what's happening in the NFL is you brought it to my attention yesterday. I think 4 African-American quarterbacks last year made the NFL playoffs. Out of those 4 that started, 3 made the playoffs, actually. 3 out of 4, which is 75%. And I want to bring up an interesting contrast. I know that in television, there's this push for diversity and equality. And there are a lot of people doing that, whether it's ESPN or whether it's Fox Sports or ABC, and of course, Charlton and Big C Sports, the hottest growing sports show in the country on the iHeartRadio network, which is the #1 network in the United States. I do want to ask you this question, Big C. We look at Carolina playing at Baltimore. Now, the Carolina Panthers, they have last year's MVP in Cam Newton, and then Baltimore has a quarterback that actually makes more than Cam Newton, even though he was injured, had a bad knee. But your thoughts on the quarterback perception with Carolina playing Baltimore? They kicked off at 4:30 today. Your thoughts on that, Big C?
Well, Andrew Luck got a white quarterback's contract is what he received, Charlton.
Yeah.
Cam Newton has only done all of what you could ask of him in the NFL. He was Rookie of the Year, so the rookie passing record, touchdowns and yards. He's made the playoffs consistently in the NFL. He took his team to the Super Bowl last year as well as winning the MVP.
Yeah.
But it wasn't worth the money that Andrew Luck is getting. You look at another African-American quarterback in Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
He got a 4-year, $88 million contract, and he went to back-to-back Super Bowls. So one of the things about the NFL is that the Caucasian quarterbacks are being rewarded for not winning, not having success, versus the African-American quarterback. They said, well, the team got him there.
Yeah.
That's what they're saying in those scenarios. And there's an unfairness parallel when you look at monies in professional sports. It's just like, looking at Denver and Chicago tonight.
Yes.
Jay Cutler has a $118 million contract.
Ouch.
$118 million. And yet Luke McCown now played him a couple of years, and they let him go in free agency. Mark Sanchez, a minority quarterback, a Latino quarterback here in America, has become a journeyman. 3 teams, Charlton. 3 teams.
Well,
and how do you go to 3 teams and you've won?
Yeah.
You look at these quarterbacks, the stature of them, you keep these guys around who cannot win.
Yeah.
But the guys that are minorities and have won, they got to go find a home someplace else.
Well, see, Big C, something that comes up, too, because the NFL is the top league, not only in the United States, but outside of soccer, it's the number 1 league in the world. And I know we have the Rooney Rule, which is about people getting the opportunity to go ahead.
Charles, they walk in there and sit in the big chair. That's all they do. They don't get an opportunity.
Okay.
You walk in and you interview with management. They give you a piece of candy off the desk and maybe a can of Coke and say, hey, talk to me for an hour, and because we have this time limit to fulfill with you, but don't expect to get the job.
Well, with Joe Flacco having more money than Cam Newton, I don't think Flacco's ever been a league MVP, Big C. And when he did get to the Super Bowl, I want to say a lot of that credit goes to guys like Ray Lewis, also Ray Rice, who's also been kicked out of the league for domestic abuse. And obviously you should be punished, but you should not be punished for the end of your career, Big C. He's repented. He should be able to come back and play again. But I think so much like Trent Dilfer got credit for Baltimore winning the Super Bowl against the Giants back in the day, it was their defense that won it for them, and Trent Dilfer got some credit for it. But you put Flacco in the same situation, I don't think he would have done it without their defense, because they had some guys that could really bring it defensively, even though I thought the 49ers got jobbed in that Super Bowl game. But I also want to ask you about another game. Again, look at this $1 million quarterback or $100 million quarterback situation. We have New Orleans playing. They kicked off against New England. Of course, Tom Brady's not there. But Drew Brees hasn't had a lot of success lately, and they want to blame it on everybody else, unlike some of the guys like Kaepernick. Kaepernick's been to the Super Bowl since Drew Brees has been. But one player they're always trying to kick out of the league or off the team, another guy they want to build around him. Your thoughts on the New Orleans game going against New England tonight up in Foxborough, Big C?
Well, New Orleans is a team, Charlton, that has a lot of needs.
Yeah.
Drew Brees is not going to be the answer. He's going to go for over 4,000 yards again this season.
Yeah.
But they have to shore up their defense, which has been hurting the past couple of years since they've gone to the Super Bowl. They lost a lot of players to free agency. It's not always easy to replace good players with quality players when you lose so many. But players, they win the Super Bowl ring, and they want to take a run for the cash.
Yeah.
The loyalty in the NFL is the next paycheck. Not the team, not the teammates. It's the next paycheck. It sounds good. It used to be that way 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
But not any longer in the game, Charlton, because careers are so short. You take what you can while you can. Drew Brees is still a great field general. It's just his supporting cast. When you think about it, Jimmy Graham is gone. Marcus Colston is gone. Ben Watson, I don't know if he's still there. But his primary core of receivers are gone, Charlton.
Yeah, and there's always talked about maybe Graham is not the best choice for the Seattle Seahawks. I know he had a knee injury, and they're saying he recovered fine. Of course, Pete Carroll has to say that, but there's some people saying that Graham doesn't feel he's 100%, but they know if you don't play, Big C, you tend to get cut from teams in the NFL, Big C, so maybe he'll come back and force that situation. And a few more things I want to ask you about NFL, and we'll step into a little bit of college football. Some crazy things happening with you good old boys down in the South. I think there's a lot going on, especially when it comes to some of the top teams. Just your thoughts on Jacksonville going into the New York Jets tonight. That game kicked off at 4:30, Big C. Your thoughts on that one?
Well, this is just a tune-up for the Jets. When you look at Jacksonville, Charlton, this is the team that has struggled the past 4 or 5 years. And You think about it. They've had a top 5 draft pick the last 5 years in the NFL. So this organization hasn't produced on the field. You know, they got Blake Bortles, the second number 1 draft pick at quarterback that they've had in the last 5 years. They shipped Gabbard off. But their defense, Charlton, has just not been able to get the job done. They have a great young receiving core, a couple of young running backs, Yeldon out of Alabama, Marcus Lee out of USC at receiver. But Bortles needs to find a way to get the ball to these receivers in stride, not put them in traffic. The defense, they lost easily their number 1 draft pick last year out of Florida before he ever got a chance to dress for a game in the first practice they had with a knee injury.
Yeah.
But this team has to shore up its defense, Charlton. It's going to be an interesting game for Ryan Fitzpatrick, who set out most of the preseason, training camp.
Training camp, yeah.
Coming in, but this is a game that Ryan Fitzpatrick needs. Going out against a meek defense like Jacksonville to get your times down. And he has Decker and Marshall and receiver. They also brought in Fournette out of Chicago, the running back, who should really help their running team.
Yeah, well, see, Big C, another thing that I want to bring up after this segment, and this segment is sponsored by United Labor Insurance, guaranteed $100,000 life insurance. And we are also doing it without any medical questions. So if you have some medical issues, you've been turned down because you have pre-existing conditions, tweet out to Charlton and Big C Sports on the iHeartRadio network. Also, we are endorsed by the American Cancer Society and the American Heart Association. I'm looking to employ over 1,000 licensed insurance brokers, putting people to work, working with the unions under the AFL-CIO. Again, tweet out to Charlton and Big C Sports. Also, by Goosehead Property and Casualty. We beat about 98% of the people when it comes to a quote. Now, Big C, I want to bring up something because you're a good old boy down south, and we know we love our NFL football. So we have some games kicking off tonight, and we have another slate of games for Friday as well as Saturday, and the 49ers play Houston in San Francisco on Sunday. But this quarterback out of LSU, his name is Leonard Fournette. You love him. You think he's a great guy, maybe up for the Heisman Trophy.
That's the running back down there.
He's a running back down there. All-American running back. Maybe even first-round NFL draft choice. They show this guy who's looking at probably at least $30 to $40 million next year. He's out slapboxing with one of his teammates who's not going to be a projected NFL player. Now, what would this guy have? What would happen if he broke his jaw before the start of the season, or if he got poked in the eye, or just doing something stupid? Guys have to understand what you talk about all the time. If you're going to be looking at $40, $50 million, why are you out slapboxing with someone who's not going anywhere? Just because someone's on your team, it doesn't mean they like you. Wouldn't it make sense if he got away from the foolishness? And he has to realize what you always say, which a lot of guys don't believe it. You got to get away from your old past. Some of your old friends, I know it's not walking away from people, but here's one guy looking at $50 million, and he's fighting this knucklehead in the street. What's going on in the SEC, Big C?
Well, Charlton, that's one of those incidents that you worry about, because as you say, anything can happen. You get a lacerated eye, anything, lose some teeth. But, these are young men. We often gauge them as adults. But, we blaspheme the players, but we don't blast the coaches. You look at Nick Saban doing a crybaby act over a fifth-year graduated defensive back who wanted to transfer to Georgia.
They finally let him go. They let him go finally let him go today.
Well, look at all the backlash and what Nick Saban did. Nick Saban walked out of LSU, Charlton.
Yeah.
Okay? Walked out of LSU. Went to Miami. Walked out of there after he burned bridges before he ended up in Miami. So as a coach, you have the ability to walk. As a player, you do not have that ability. You are controlled like a slave, like an animal, by these institutions. And when we talk about Fournette being out there on social media, think about Bobby Petrino, the head coach of Louisville, out there on some social adult website, and sitting here using the same line that Larry Tunsil, the 13th pick of the Miami draft, of the Miami Dolphins in the draft out of Mississippi, the offensive tackle, somebody used or hacked my website. Okay, the head coach's office, Charlton, is the head coach's office. Yeah. Everyone doesn't have access. And now everybody's losing their passwords on their accounts, especially why would another coach be looking on this social adult site? And Bobby Petrino has his history. If you remember when he was at Arkansas a couple of years ago, prior to Brett Bielema, he had the accident on the motorcycle that he was having an affair with an office assistant. And all of his texts showed up that this was occurring.
Well, Big C.
And they had an accident and he lost his job. So, the way they judge coaches and the way they judge players is double, triple standard. black and white quarterbacks in the NFL.
Well, Big C, this breaking news, they just announced this breaking news that there are actually people in America that have affairs. some of them have to be coaches. So it's not just Tiger Woods, Big C. Tiger Woods is off the hook.
Look at what they did to Tiger Woods. He is Bobby Petrino. At the University of Arkansas, he gets fired. He gets another glamorous job at the University of Louisville, and that's just good old boys being boys.
Well, who is this great preacher from the South? I think you know if he may have even gone to some of his sessions. I think his name is Jimmy Swaggart, right? Here's a guy that's supposed to be a paragon of virtue, preaching to people about how to be, like, I guess he's the brother of Jesus. They're both perfect, but everybody else has some issues. But I think whether it's JFK, whether it's any of our world leaders, whether it's Donald Trump, who's actually telling people to invoke the Second Amendment and try to take out Hillary Clinton, that if an average citizen had said what Donald Trump said about trying to take out someone running for office, you would have Secret Service arresting that person. But he's such a knucklehead, and we have so much violence going on in our society. We just had Dallas police officers gunned down by sniper, and here's this knucklehead running for the presidency of the United States, leading the Republican Party, and I don't care what party you are. But could you imagine if President Obama said, let's take somebody out, you guys that want to carry around rifles? We just had police officers assassinated, and here's a knucklehead that's on TV saying to do the same thing to the Democratic nominee. It doesn't make any sense that he hasn't taken much flack over it, Big C. I just think that's horrible, and it's egregious. It's really a criminal act to say that someone should try to take out one of our world leaders. But again, he's Donald Trump, so he'll get away with that, Big C. Just about your thoughts on that real quick.
Well, it's actually an act of terrorism against a public official, Charlton, what Donald Trump did. And you think about Donald Trump and the asinine statements he's been making throughout his entire candidacy, where he's always invoked violence against other minorities, Charlton, since he ran for president. And when you look at Hillary Clinton, she's a minority. She's a woman. She classifies in that. And so, and what I like, Charlton, is that he's saying that people are taking his words out of context.
It's on tape.
When I'm looking at the television, they're coming out of his mouth. They're coming straight out of his stupid mouth. And he's saying people taking it out of context. You tell somebody to go beat the hell out of somebody, hit them, knock them down.
And you pay their medical and legal bills,
So how is that taken out of context? When you provoke violence and threats against other Americans, Charlton, you are not fit to hold any public office.
No, I agree. So, and we have this thing with this Black Lives Matter, and we have the Ali tribute, and all the people who are trying to be socially conscious in this role, and of course, President Obama talking about race and how to get people to get along. But here's a Caucasian man who used to own a sports team. He used to own the New Jersey Generals. He also tried to buy the Buffalo Bills before they kicked him out. The NFL would not let him do it. So Roger Goodell at least has kudos for that. But I just think when we talk about the world of sports, and we talk about how sports can bring people together, I just hope that no matter who you vote for, I hope that people keep in mind that the person he's saying to go out and take out, it might be someone you care about. And one more thing I want to bring up before this final section, Big C, that this final section is sponsored by One Life America Life Insurance. I'm a life insurance broker with One Life America. We're the leaders in the country when it comes to final expense. I'm also trying to hire 1,000 licensed insurance brokers to help spread final expense throughout the country, protecting families, and also Beneath His Wings Foundation.org. Make a donation today. It's easy, it's fast, and secure. And when it comes to promotions, contact Cynthia Evans of CYNN Entertainment. She's the best in Northern California. Becca, the Business Cupid, I want to thank you for your opportunities, too, bringing in some sponsors that we'll be talking to very soon. And also, Big C, I just want to make this point because it's so important. Sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. So I encourage all of our youth to pick up computers instead of tennis shoes, and pick up computers instead of video games, and learn to become entrepreneurs. Since we talked about this, there's a gentleman by the name of Warren Adams in Sacramento trying to do the same thing that Phil Knight has done with Nike Corporation. Even though they sell shoes, Big C, and other paraphernalia from head to toe, Nike is about making money. They hire people up in Beaverton, Oregon. I sent them a tape of our show. I'm expecting to hear back from Phil Knight with that $1 million sponsorship. Just do it. I think you're worth $27 billion. But it's so important to say what I'm going to say now, Big C. If we were to look at the plight of black Americans right now, or even women, the NFL's running these commercials that you talked about coming up. It's an anti-violence commercial. It shows kind of a collage of a woman and a man getting married. and then they're all picnicking, they're out dancing and frolicking through the park, and then it shows her being beaten up and she has scars on her face. So I want anyone who knows any woman who's going through domestic abuse, I want you to call 911 for that woman. Oftentimes they tell their friends, don't say anything, I don't want to get them in trouble. But men and women, if there's a knucklehead man abusing a woman, you owe it to your self-consciousness to call 911 and get that woman some help. So Big C, as we go into this final segment, I'm ashamed of what Donald Trump is trying to do, because as he's threatening Hillary Clinton, there's some women being battered as we speak. But how can the president of the United States, if he becomes that, unfortunately, how can he sit up and say we're going to protect our society from predators when he's the one espousing that garbage? So again, all you men out there, keep our women safe. I'm proud of the NFL for continuing to run this commercial. Big C, I want to get your thoughts on that, and also how we get people back to work again. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you can never run a commercial against non-violence towards women in Charlton, because the NFL is a sport based on violence. And you have a lot of huge hulking men that sometimes don't know how to control all their anger on or off the field.
Yeah, it's called jail. It's called handcuffs, Big C. That's how they control it.
Well, I'm talking about in that home environment. But you get so many people that want to be around that type of excitement and money is that they will accept the abuse, Charlton, because they say, what's the alternative? Other than living a safe life, I'm not going to have this type of financial stability.
Yeah.
But, women, that's the reason why we talk about education so much, Charlton.
Yeah.
When you're educated, you're not sitting there looking for a 401k plan and a man.
Yeah.
You're looking to support yourself and be a partnership in a relationship. Not that person that's there to be abused and use whatever, the need comes about.
Yeah.
But, just educate yourself, and as you say, if something's not right, there was no little girl, I don't believe, in America that was brought up and told that it's okay for a guy to beat on you.
Exactly.
Regardless of his financial status.
Right.
It's not. When you're in a relationship, you're in a partnership, not an abuse scenario.
And see, I'm glad we bring that up, Big C, because in the sports world, let's be honest, too, because everybody's pushing alcohol, and I'm not making an excuse for any man or woman that's abusive, because unfortunately, I see women fighting women, too. I mean, some things are crazy in our society, but I can't really say that I'm naive to it, because we have someone running as a head Republican saying go out and do violence on people and he'll pay your legal bills. So I think he's just talking to people at his rallies. He's not talking to inner city people who are caught up in a lot of the violence because people are trying to eat and they do what they can. Sometimes it calls for preying on people. So I want to bring this to the consciousness of everybody, especially our young men. I know football starting tonight. We just talked about some of the great games that are kicking off, even though it's preseason. But please, let's do what we can to keep all people safe, especially young women. Don't put up with any of the violence. And I just want to give one mention before I close with Carmelo Anthony, Big C. I met this singer out of Africa. She has a great voice. Her name is Sylvia. And I will get some information on her too, because this is a show about opportunity. We're encouraging people to be entrepreneurial. So worldwide, we're heard over in London, we're in Germany, we're in Canada, we're in Latin America, we're all over the globe with iHeartRadio, Big C. So I want to congratulate everybody who's trying to have that entrepreneurial spirit and just go out and do it. I'm also doing some work with G5 Textiles. We can make uniforms for any team in the United States of America. But Big C, speaking of the United States of America, I want to close with this. Carmelo Anthony, who also spoke out at the ESPYs, I'm really proud of Carmelo Anthony as an advocate, more so than Michael Jordan, who was just about selling tennis shoes prior to the last 10 days. Carmelo Anthony, he scored more points than anyone that wore the USA basketball jersey in the Olympics. Your thoughts on Carmelo Anthony, not only as an advocate, Big C, but as an athlete? Go right ahead, sir.
Well, the point total means longevity, that you spend a lot of times in the Olympics, Charlton. And it is a dubious record to have, when you own a sports record that may stand for time.
Yeah.
Being an advocate, Carmelo has done town hall meetings. He spoke up at the ESPYs. He's grown, from where he was with the Denver Broncos to where he is with the New York Knicks. He's got the social consciousness.
Yeah.
But I look at with these athletes, Charlton, you just can't wait to hold a press conference.
Yeah.
I look at it with the owners. You just can't wait to hold a press conference. Even Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
There's no need for a press conference. Do what you do from your heart.
Yeah.
It's not going to hurt any of them financially, Charlton. When you're making $100 million or $1 billion, it's not going to hurt you to help others. You made your money off the carcasses of others, Charlton. Other people worked a 9-to-5 job, a 9-to-7 job to be able to afford to see you and support you financially through whatever you're selling as a product or endorsing.
Yeah.
So give back to these communities, give back to these people, help out. It's nice to do $1 million, $2 million, but let's create some jobs. Everybody's been on the president about job creation in America. Job creation in America comes from the industrial complex, Charlton, not the president. So don't knock the president when he gives tax breaks. Get on the industrial complex for taking jobs overseas.
Well, Big C, that's very powerful that you said, too. And I want to get you back on one more segment because I think right now we're at a point where a lot of what you talk about, I hear it being repeated on ESPN and Fox. We talked about A-Rod yesterday and how it's a joke that the Yankees aren't letting him get to 700, and they're just having such dysfunction, like this big ego thing with the Yankees and A-Rod. They're trying to act like he's the only one that ever did something illegal, Big C.
The reason why they don't want him to get to 700 is because of Babe Ruth. Now you will have 2 Yankees in the 700 club. That's the reason for A-Rod not being in the lineup. They don't want him to be held in the same club and breath as Babe Ruth.
Yeah, well, that's a very good point, Big C. I think they should honor the man, let him go out swinging, if that makes any sense, Big C. It is a game of baseball, and we know that everybody loves the long ball. But the last thing I want to end with, and again, iHeartRadio Network, we thank you so much. We appreciate you for bringing us onto your program. We're the prime time hour at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time worldwide. And if you're looking for advertisers out there, we're talking to you also, Phil Knight. iHeartRadio, over 250 million people on their platform every week. That's over 1 billion people per month on the iHeartRadio network. They're bigger than Fox Sports, bigger than ABC and CBS Sports. It's in the ratings. Just look it up. So while you should advertise with Charlton and Big C Sports, you tweet out the Charlton and Big C Sports, or also find me on Facebook. I want to let you know that you're on the #1 platform in the United States and therefore one of the tops in the world. And while we're asking you for that donation, we're looking for people who want to be socially conscious. I want to make sure that while we have this microphone in front of us, that we're not just a sycophant athlete or a broadcaster. I want to make sure we can make a difference in the world of entrepreneurship. I believe, Big C, for the inner cities, because you so eloquently brought it up, many companies have sent jobs overseas. Even Donald Trump, his tires are made in China. Okay, they're not made in Detroit. They're not made in Michigan. They're made in China. You can look it up. So when you have people who can't go to China to get a job, the stock market and understanding computers will help you gain the advantage over your economy. Because the Fortune 500, they're right there in New York. If you can follow what the Fortune 500 companies are doing, computers are the way, Big C. And in the final segment, I just want you to bring it up, why every school, especially every college that recruits an inner city kid or even rural area kid, if we can understand that some schools don't even have computers. So how can they compete with kids from India and China, Big C? Your thoughts on that, and we'll close it out.
Well, it becomes the social consciousness, Charlton, of the university system out there as they're recruiting athletes. It's just like this debacle with Nick Saban and Smith, the defensive back.
Yeah.
Young man has already graduated from Alabama, but he has a year of eligibility left. And here it is, you're trying to stop a young man from pursuing his dream. This is a biased scenario. How do you stop someone from pursuing their dream in America when a coach has the freedom and the autonomy to leave at any time he wants? And when he leaves, he's leaving for money.
Yeah.
The player's not leaving for money. The player's leaving for opportunity to hopefully advance his career.
Yeah.
And so this is a rule, Charlton. When you look at the NCAA is white, Charlton. It is white. They did not let African Americans in huge numbers until the 70s.
Yeah.
But this is a white-based scenario. So, this is something that is to hold people back. Why do you want to hold people back when you talk about your institution of higher learning and you want to limit somebody's ability?
Yeah, I agree, and that's very well said. So it takes a village. It takes everybody who wants to put people to work and create opportunity. You will hear about it more on Charlton and Big C Sports every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time worldwide on the iHeartRadio network. For those of you looking to advertise, simply tweet out to Charlton and Big C Sports. You can also follow us on Twitter. We want to bring you real sports talk, but real conscious sports talk. So whether it's NFL, enjoy the games tonight. We also have Major League Baseball, NBA basketball. Everything's kicking off in the world of sports. And you can follow it every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Charlton and Big C Sports. We want to tell you that we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.